I just want to say that I was on the Left 4 Dead train literally day one. I was like one of those people who bought the game absolutely day one. You got to realize, like, back then, zombies were all the rage, and even though the reviews were saying it only has like 2 hours of content if you just play through all the campaigns, I was still super, super hyped for basically a super fun way to have some split screen zombie killing fun with my friends. And yeah, Left 4 Dead has basically been a fairly regular part of my life since 2008. Me and all the boys on Cohesive Friendship Unit play it every couple months, even still in 2021. Of course, now we're playing it on Steam and not the 360. But when Back for Blood was first shown, I was intrigued. I was intrigued for a number of reasons, both good and bad. I was intrigued on the good side because one, Valve doesn't know how to count to three. We all know that meme, but this is Turtle Rock, right? These are the creators of Left 4 Dead. So this is basically Left 4 Dead 3. And if you back when there was only trailer footage, if you were looking at it, you'd be like, "Well, yeah, this is Left 4 Dead 3." But so that is both the good and the bad, because the bad is, well, like, you don't really need Left 4 Dead 3 if you think about it, because Left 4 Dead 2 already has so much content and it runs on everything. Like, you can play this at a LAN party with any laptop that is remotely competent. You can play this game. It's super easy to run, it's super cheap to buy, and it has very good modding community. So why do we need to pay $60 for Back for Blood? And that is when I have just finished playing the Back for Blood beta. I was able to get access to it, and yeah, I mean, these are my thoughts, and in a nutshell, it is super much worth playing, and I am super excited for it. It is now up there with Halo Infinite for my most anticipated games coming up this fall. So, a few things to address. One, yeah, well, isn't it just Left 4 Dead? Because that's kind of what I thought. How do you justify making better Left 4 Dead in 2021? How do you do it? What do you do? And from what we saw in the demos and the trailers, it didn't look like there was anything, but then I started to see how the set pieces have been amped up. I started to see these enormous monsters and these crazier set pieces. So from that perspective, just from a technology perspective, there is something brought to the table from making a new piece of software. But in terms of game mechanics, it's really two things that stuck with me. One I was skeptical going into, and one that I kind of evolved as I was playing the game. And the first thing I want to talk about is the card system. So the card system works on two ways. You have a deck that you bring into the game, and the game has a deck that they bring against you. And between each round, you get to play a card which could do anything from enhancing your stamina 10% to a knife kill or a melee kill boosts your health by 2 points every time you kill something with a melee weapon, to anything like that. But the game can also counter cards with you. So, for example, if you scare crows, it might attract the horde, or you might have a set timer for when a new horde is going to come. So there's a lot of different possibilities. Basically, it makes a dynamic game like Left 4 Dead just that much more dynamic. But the thing that really hammered home what makes this game so special is this is basically taking everything that roguelites have kind of adapted into the mainstream of games in the last 12 years, which Left 4 Dead, I did not predate roguelikes. They existed, but it predated their popularity in a sense, and how much has been developed in the genre since their popularity boomed. And what I mean by that is when I started the game, when I started my last campaign, I was helpless. I could only carry a melee weapon, which I'm not too terribly fond of in games in general, and then I could carry my automatic, just like you'd expect with Left 4 Dead. And but I had this card, and the card said, if I got melee kills, then I would get 2 health. And I was like, okay, well that's nice. So I'll hang on to my melee weapon. Well, then the next round, I was able to play a different card that was, I now have a kind of knife that's built in as a melee weapon. I don't have to carry a melee weapon anymore, and that's great because I don't really like melee weapons. Anyway, so now I can free up that slot and I can get a scoped pistol, which allows me to basically have 2 guns and a melee weapon, and I'm still healing with my kills. That's super. Well, then the next round, I play a card that gives me 10% more stamina. And in this game, you need stamina to be able to do kills. So that's like the roguelike element, right? Where you're constantly building cards and you're playing cards to make yourself progressively stronger as the campaign goes on. And that was not a thing that happened in Left 4 Dead. In Left 4 Dead, you really just you were the same. You were static. And there's a few other things that make it a bit more interesting. Every gun has its own ammo type instead of generic ammo types. There's an attachment system which in an inventory, which also is a bit more like roguelite-esque, where you're kind of picking up attachments as you go through the campaign, and those attachments are tiered, so you could get like a legendary or an uncommon attachment. So it is it just adds that much more to each run and that much more for what could happen. So yeah, super impressed. The one thing that I feel is a problem is the price. And I don't mean that this game does not have enough content to justify $60. What I mean is that it is competing against Left 4 Dead and Left 4 Dead 2, which has been about $2 several times a year for the last 10 years. So it's going to be very hard to justify $60 because $60 times 4, I mean that it's Back 4 Blood, Left 4 Dead. The number 4 is literally in the game title for a reason. This is meant to be played with your friends. You can have tons of fun playing it alone, but definitely meant to be played with friends. That's a $240 buy-in for all of your friends to be able to play this. With at least it's cross-play, so everyone can play on their preferred system. They only have to buy it once. And obviously this problem will alleviate itself over time. But the two things that this game could do to at least be somewhat competitive against Left 4 Dead, and I know these are huge asks, I'm just being realistic with the scene right now, is good mod support, because Left 4 Dead has insane mod support. That game has basically endless amounts of content. That will be hard. It's a huge ask, but definitely on PC it would be valuable. And especially on PC, because there's theoretically no kind of end game on the amount of power you can pump into the game. We need split screen in this game. The original Left 4 Dead had split screen, and that, I know people don't really do split screen anymore, but the fun of Left 4 Dead is playing the game with your friends, and to be able to play it split screen would at least alleviate the fact that you would theoretically have to buy 4 copies of this game to play it with all your friends. Maybe they could introduce like a once a month 2-day weekend pass for your friends or something. I don't know. But to me, it's just a huge asking price to play what is realistically going to be a very, very fun experience, but an experience that you could largely find elsewhere.